Cool. We should be live. Hello, everybody. Thank you for tagging along to another virtual production live stream Q&A where we're showing the awesome shared projects that we're developing, and we're gonna just talk you through any developments that we kind of get up to each week. We're gonna hold these each week on a Thursday, and this week I'm gonna be showing you these dynamic layout switches, which I've just been figuring out. So we've got the kind of inputs and outputs of Composure and your kind of screens for a kind of virtual broadcast, kind of virtual studio or a podcast kind of setup. But what if you want to like kind of change the config of your screens, like have one screen visible, have two screens visible, stuff like that. I've been figuring out the best ways to change this stuff all on the fly. So yeah, these dynamic layout switches will enable you to switch this stuff up dynamically, change screen visibility of both CG and Composure media. And oh, 1 second, just going to share my screen on Discord. Sweet. One moment. Yeah, so this will enable you, thanks for that reminder, Jen. This will enable you to switch your screens of both your comp media and your CG media, and it will enable you to create awesome intro and outro kind of transitions or events for your live streams or podcasts and things. So yeah, this is really, really awesome if you're looking to like have something cool going on in your podcast, where like Twitch chat could be like, you know, making everything move around, vibrate, like spawn fire, crazy things like that. But I'm just starting with the idea that we're just going to be moving our screens around in our scene, basically. So I've managed to kind of uncover 3 sort of tiers of integrating these kind of sequenced movement of screens and stuff. Just like the surface level, what I'm going to show you is how you can switch comp media on or off in sequencer. So it was originally not actually as simple as just keyframing a show or hide for the media plate. There's an extra step, which I'll show you. So that's the surface level. You can actually just straight up do an intro animation and it will just show in sequencer. It can be keyframed. And then there's a second level of kind of integration where you can actually make a screen blueprint which ties together your media plate, your comped elements, and your CG screen. If you all set it up in a blueprint, you can actually do this stuff a little bit more dynamically, a little bit, it's more of like a cleaner system. And then for further integration, I've figured out not only using sequencer to move the screens around, you can use blueprints to really get kind of extra techie with how dynamic the movement of the screen can be. So I'll just demonstrate the kind of first surface level first off. So here I've got my kind of comped media, my kind of sequence thingy, and I've got this kind of screen switcher set up. So down in these kind of buttons represent where you might want to put your screens. You might want your screen in the middle. You might want it like this, you know, 2 on one side, 1 on the other. You might want it just 1 on that side. And you know, so this is kind of the final result. I can dynamically switch from all kinds of different positions and layouts. Still got like a bit of tweaking to be done, like it's like gets a little bit hairy here and there because it's quite a complex blueprint at this point, but overall it's quite a nice kind of dynamic switching system. And then I can also just reset that layout. So this is obviously part of the shared project, so it's something you're totally open to use and grab. So this new iteration of the shared project will be up soon enough. So you can just, in theory, load your media into this and use this setup that I've made as it is. It's still at kind of an unfinished stage, but could be really useful for you. But also really useful to just explain to you the how I'm doing it, the system and how I'm doing it, so then you can kind of understand it. So it'd be cool to just show the surface level first, like simplest. It's kind of the first thing that I kind of worked out when I was doing this, is that you can trigger this stuff in sequencer. So I've got these kind of presets. So like say, I want to use this like example of like an intro animation. So say you just wanted this to happen, you know, at the beginning. That's all good. You could just fire that animation and that's cool. But if you had like your composure elements going on as well, if I just turn off the CG for this just to show just the composure elements. Actually, I'll turn it on. So, you know, you've got these composure elements as well, and you might want them to move as well. And also, you can see, I don't know if it's easy to see, so if you look at the screen on the right, you can actually turn that on or off. You can turn that input on or off. And it's just kind of a demonstration that you can do dynamic stuff with Composure as well. It's just there's another kind of layer to accessing that stuff. So, I guess it could be good to just recap what these screens are doing and how they move the composure elements as well as the actual in-game CG screen. This is a blueprint that I've kind of made. If we go in the outliner, got this BP screen. I can edit that. So this is a blueprint that has one of the OWL video plane placements as part of the blueprint. So if you go in the class settings, it actually inherits from OWL video plane placement. So it's just a video plane placement, but I've just added some CG to make it look more like a real screen. You know, I've just added a static mesh around it. So it's not just a floating composure element. It's actually got some CG to go with it. So like say, yeah, so back to this like animation, say you are like trying to make this pop in, and you also want the composure screens to pop in as well. The first kind of surface level way you can do this is you can actually find these in the outliner. You can find these screens, and you can go track actor sequence like back screen. So you can actually access that composure element in the from the outliner, and this is kind of cool as a first off surface level way to do this. You can essentially so it's checking everything's going all good. Hey Virtual Steve, nice to see you dropping in by the way, and hey Chipko. So yeah, it's just that with Composure you've got this thing of you've got your kind of CG screens, but then you've also got your, you know, what it looks like through Composure. That might look kind of different. Hold on. One sec. So essentially what it is if you want to show and hide composure elements, if you just want to do it in the simplest way, you can also do it by tracking the actual composure element using this track actor sequence. So when I'm just going to do this for, say we wanted to okay, so here's our composure view. Here's what we're looking at when we've actually composited our media in. You know, we've actually got stuff on the screens now. So like looking at this one, for example. So as they come in at the end, that just pops on, and that's because that that screen 1 keyframe. And you can see that this one goes from this like liney one to just a flat image. That means that that composure element has shown as well. So like, let's just show you doing it for screen 3 as well. So we can just position this so we can see what's going on in Composure as well. So what you'd do is you'd find that screen 3, so you can go track, active sequence, back screen 3, or whatever you've called yours. And when you click track, there's actually not as many exposed kind of parameters as most other things. But I found this really cool thing where you can go event trigger, and if you pop a keyframe down on this back screen 3, you can press here, keyframe that, and you can right click properties and go event bind, quick bind, and this brings up every single event that is exposed in this blueprint. So because this is a media plate blueprint, you can actually get everything that you can do in Composure in this sequence, in the sequencer stuff. So it's just like in blueprints, you can trigger events. You can actually, the sequencer can be the trigger for the events. And you know, for a lot of filmmaking people and stuff, that's a lot easier to do than blueprints really. So what I can do here is actually search opacity. Oh. So set opacity. And this will like bring up this level sequence blueprint. So it's just created this little custom event and a new opacity just for us really quickly as part of this kind of sequence. But if we jump back into the actual sequence, we've now got a keyframe here. We can go properties. We got a new opacity of 0. I think what I have to do here is again do the same thing and go go trigger. Oh no, I just go from here, create a new keyframe, and go properties, bind it again to opacity, which is a bit weird, and create another event. So because this is just a so it's just a float, so it's just going to be, I guess I would have thought that'd be a boolean, but you can't slide the opacity on or off. This is just going to be like an on or an off kind of thing. So if I go here and click properties here, I can go new opacity 1. And I'm just going to check here that this one is still on 0. Yeah, that's cool. So now we got keyframe. And I just need to click this cool in editor. That's important, just so we can test it out in editor. So this is now a blueprint that is being called via sequence, which is very, very cool. And if we check out this Composure comp over here, this one without the lines is the comped media. And then as we hit play, at the end of that, it's flicking it off. So the comped media is now off. So if I swap those round, you probably want it the other way around. So when you start your thing, none of your comped media is going to be on, but you begin play, and it jumps into view. So it's quite a funny example here, but you know, something like that, you might wanna change whether your Composure screen is visible or hidden, and from this you can see that it's quite simple to just do that by sequencer, just by tracking that media plate and setting this sneaky binding in this event trigger section that will expose a load of other things that you can do. And that's sort of how I found that you can show and hide Composure elements over sequencer. So that's really, really cool. So that kind of covers like the simplest way of showing and hiding stuff. No blueprints involved, just sequencer, and you can edit your Composure elements. I went another level up because I thought it'd be really cool to streamline this even more, so that whenever my screen blueprints are hidden, that will also hide the designated kind of media plate as well. So each of these video plane placements, so these are screens, these are blueprints that are involved, that have a video plane placement actor as part of them. So each of these is related to backscreen 1, backscreen 2, and backscreen 3. So you can see that they're in the position of each of those screens. So I thought that surely, because this is a blueprint already, this BP screen, surely I can set it so that if this actor is hidden in game, then the composure screen that relates to it will also hide in game. And the way I've done that is I've created this custom event called show hide. And so what this does is it calls this set actor hidden in game, which is, you know, doing the job for the CG already. That's great. And then it's going into this branch, which is picking up, am I hidden in game? You know, like, so you get a reference to self, and you can go actor hidden in game, rendering, get actor hidden in game, can pump that into this branch. So now, whenever this hidden in game for the kind of CG is pressed, for the static mesh screen is whenever that's hidden, it will go on and it will say, is this hidden or not? If it is hidden, then we can set the opacity of our media plates to 0. So that was that same opacity slider that we had in the sequencer. It's the same thing as calling this event, calling this trigger. That's the same thing as what I'm doing here, just set opacity. So I had to grab any media plates. So what I did was just created a variable called media plates. It's an array and it's public. And in my construction script, so whenever this screen is put into the level, it's going to get all actors of class media plate. So you can find that media plate in here, media plate comp element, and it's going to store those in this variable. So it's grabbing any media plates that are in the level and it's going to store them here. So then, because I've also set this to visible, that means that I have in my screen, if I click on one of my screens, I have all my media plates visible. So this is the same list as the list here. If I twirl these down, it's got all 7 of them. And that's just useful for seeing this list. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm setting that, and I can grab that whole list of media plates, and I can grab an index for it. So this is just literally a number. And this is also public. And it's going to say, you know, get all my media plates, just get the 3rd one in the list, say, and set the opacity of that. So what that means is I can drag in any number of screens. And if I just set this media plate index by looking at, you know, which index is here, back screen 1, that's the one I want, so number 4, index 4. I can do that for screen 2 as well. Screen 2 is back screen 2, that's media index 0. And this one is screen 3, media index 1, media plate index 1. That means that this code can fire, and it's just going to grab whichever index I've set for the specific screen. So it's a much more fluid way of doing this. I can put in any number of screens, and if I set that index, the whole blueprint will still work, you know, no matter how many screens I put in there or whatever. So what this is doing is it's saying whenever this actor is hidden in game, the opacity of the media plate is also going to be set to 0. So the media plate will also hide. So I've got this sequence that kind of demonstrates that. If we check out the composure, this is essentially doing the same thing, where you're just showing and hiding the composure media as well as the static mesh. And there you go. So I just set it to just pop in at the end of. So I've got transform where the screen kind of zooms in from here, and then at the end of it, it's just going to set the opacity to 0, to 1. Sorry. So the whole mesh of the screen is being shown instead of the just the composure kind of element. And then, so the way you would integrate that into sequencer is like the same. You would just call the custom event. Call the custom event that you've made. So when I got this BP screen, I made this custom event called show hide. This is what I can call, say I can do it for this screen one. Screen one. I go track event trigger. Put a keyframe in. Right click there, properties, and I can bind this to my custom event show hide. Cool. So with this one I can actually copy and paste it, which is a weird one. And I can go properties, is hidden no, call in editor, properties, call in editor is hidden yes. Is that gonna work? Let's just double check this one. It might have just changed this one as well. Hidden no, hidden yes. So this one is also, the whole static mesh is also going to pop into play at the end of the sequence. So, you know, there you've got like not just your general kind of keyframe animation of your transform, but you've got the sorry, I'll show the media plates as well. You got the media plates and the static meshes all behaving together to both kind of transform in and to be shown or hidden at the right time. So, I mean, setting up your own blueprint can be kind of daunting, but it's actually just a tiny other step of just creating this blueprint that is of type video plane placement. And then you can just add, you know, your static meshes to make it look like a screen, and then the composure elements are always going to follow that video plane placement. And then you can get on to showing and hiding. So this show and hide could be expanded out for more kind of composure functionality. You could show or hide certain inputs and things like that. But what I wanted to show is that yes, this kind of works for like an intro sequence. It could be quite nice if you do some camera movement as well. You know, as these sort of come in, you can zoom the camera in. But what I wanted to do is take it another step further and just show the kind of more dynamic system that I had in place, because I was working with these sequences and I was like, oh cool, I can just do a sequence that makes the screen go over there, and then I can do a sequence that makes the screen go over there. But I noticed that it's not very interchangeable with multiple different sequences. So like, just demonstrate here. I'm actually just going to turn this off for a sec. So I wanted this kind of controller, you know, where you could go center screen, and then from this point you can go side screen. And you can't do this with just a series of sequences. You need like a third level of integration. This is where I'm looking at these kind of many tiers of integration. So at this point, I actually had to go back to blueprints instead of sequences. But the stuff I'd learned with linking the screens and the show and hide of both the composure and the media plate together was really, really helpful for this. So what I'm gonna show off, by the way, if anyone's got any questions or things they want to chat about, that's cool. I'm just showing off sort of what I've been working out so far. But yeah, please do jump in if you feel like it. So yeah, let's show off the next kind of level of integration, because you can't just have a load of sequences. They kind of clash. If you're pausing one, playing another, it gets kind of messy. I've also kind of created this system that is also very, very messy at this stage, but I'll try and just show you, because it's always good to show what's going on under the hood. So I've got my screens menu. I've got the buttons for the different layouts. Each of these is going to call an action on clicked. And in the graph, these are all the presets that are clicked, you know, top left, top right, center, right button. These are all going to call this custom event. And I actually laid out the controls in this place, you know, top right, top left, top right, center, because that kind of helped me navigate it. 'Cause it's like, oh, I need to sort this button, let's go to the left. So this, instead of just being able to use sequences, what I'm doing, if we go into this transform, this custom event, sorry, this is setting the transform. So because sequences, they're just going to play from one playhead to the end, you can't take the relative location of the actor and add on an extra transform from that second kind of initial point. So what I had to do is do an add actor transform. So get actor transform and then an interp to a new location and rotation. I haven't done it for scale yet, so there's sort of no need at the moment. But basically what this means is that I can jump from here. It's going to, so let's talk about the big screen, for example. It's going to get the actor transform of this big screen, and then it's going to change it to here. Instead of just going point A to point B to point A to point B, we can now go point A to point B to point C to point D. So that's, it has to be that way to be super dynamic for sequences and stuff. So there's a lot of kind of dependencies, and I started looking at blueprint interfaces for this, and kind of custom events and things like that. I wanted to, again, store some stuff in variables to make this screen one transform an event that I could always fire. So I've got a custom event. If we go in the event graph, I've got a custom event here for screen one transform, screen two, and screen three transform. So whenever I press a layout button, so layout 2, this should be called layout left. So say I want to move the screen to the left, it's going to call this event screen 1 transform, which is going to be doing that, get actor location and move it to another location. So it's also doing this over a timeline because I wanted that smoother transition from A to B. And then that delta time needs to be stored in a variable because it needs to go into here and into here. And this branch for any button pressed, this is a quick little thing I found for if you want to interrupt one click with another. So it made it just a bit better for going like this really quickly. Still a little buggy. you can confuse it. You can still definitely confuse it. But what it is because this this timeline is firing. Let me just show you. If you watch the kind of flow here, when I press this one, is it this one? Okay, I don't know if that's going to show you. But essentially, if you press too many buttons at once, it will like interrupt this timeline. So I had to make this button pressed boolean that is going to say if a button isn't being pressed, then it's okay to play. But if a button is already being pressed, then stop the current animation and then play it. This any button pressed is being called. Where is it being called? I think it's being called in the HUD. But yeah, essentially, like, it's gonna be a lot of detail to show you like everything that goes into this. But using these timelines for blueprints is like really nice for an extra level of kind of interactability, because yeah, a timeline will just go from, or like a sequence will just go from point A to point B, but these timelines, they go from point A to point B, but that alpha of point A to point B, that's this delta time, that can be applied to anything. So it can be applied to point A to point B, or new point A to new point C. So that's how you kind of make it a bit more dynamic. I might just work on just creating another one just while we're on this stream. Just seeing if there's any questions going on. Update is in which repository? Yeah, I need to upload the new update, Julian. So, gonna get on that hopefully tomorrow, I think. So yeah, maybe I'll show you this process. This blueprint I've got is really kind of messy, really surface level. But if I just show like, so this one's kind of working. This one's kind of working. These two are not really working at all. They don't do anything yet. So I could just show the process of creating that one. Let's see how that goes. This might kind of show you how I'm doing these dynamic thingies. So we've got a new button. I'd start off in the HUD. Got a new button. We want to do something with this button. We want one screen to go top right. I'm going to call this bottom left button though, because it is. Sorry, bottom left button. On clicked bottom left. Here's where all my presets are being fired. Quality of the video. That's it's an unusual one about getting lower quality over spout. So you're sending it from your camera. I've never sent stuff from cameras like that, to be fair. So what, your camera has a spout sender in it? So you want a custom event for this, which so this is calling custom events from layout switcher. So that is a blueprint that I've made. Comp switcher, layout switcher blueprint. So essentially I'm going to create a custom event here for bottom right. And this is something that I can call in this blueprint in the HUD, because I can do this get actors of class. So now I can type bottom right, and that means I can press a button from the HUD, and that is now going to fire something in my layout switcher, which is the thing that's doing all the transforms. So for this bottom right layout, I want to hide. I want to hide the two small screens. I want this screen. No, I'm going to use small screen 2. I want to keep that shown. I want to hide this one, and move this up there. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is just move this to where I want it. Got this all on snap, so it's kind of easier to move back. But yeah, now I've got this location. So in here I've got this variable that's keeping all the transforms of my screens. So this is screen 2 that I'm editing. So screen 2 transforms. I can just add a new array element to this. This is just going to store a transform that I've made. So screen 2 transforms. I recently realized you can go, what is it? Shift left click to copy, shift right click to paste. God, the power of reading the little tooltips. I'm sure it had a little tooltip here that said that. Shift left click, shift right click. Very cool. So yeah, now as that 7th array element, I've got the transform that I've set right here. So I can call that event, or I can tell it to go to that transform from wherever it is. So this is the transform I'm after. I'm just going to grab all of this functionality. I'm going to need most of it. So my screen 1, I've got this boolean that's setting it to be hidden. I can't remember how I'm doing that. I think it's in my screen 1 transform at the end. It can fire set actor hidden in game. You know what? I'm just going to take that out of here and do it manually in here first. So the first thing I want to do is hide screen 1. Basically doing things that you would do in sequencer, but kind of without the visual here. So starting off by hiding screen 1. I guess I could do the timeline. Yeah, let's use the timeline. So screen 1 can be hidden. This selected transform is again just a stored integer for which transform you want it to go to, and that would be then calling that selected transform from here. So that can probably go there because the screen's going to hide anyway. Actually, you know what? Let's set a new. Yeah, cool. Let's use the same transform that I used for the one where you send the screen to the right side. So if I look at my HUD, my screens menu, so this one where I went off to the right, I want that transform. So I want this one, and that is screen transform 2. So that can go to the same, this will just send it to the same place, because this integer is just relating to these selected transforms, because when you go in here, I've got this bit of logic that takes the integer that you set and it gets that transform from the list of it transforms and sets that to the interp2 location. So then for screen, I think this is screen 3 in the middle, which I can see from here. So I want screen 3 to also kind of go off to the side and disappear. So it's going to essentially do this. And then we've got the show hide, which is the function that I was calling. Oh yeah. So this is the function that I was calling in this blueprint screen. I've got this show hide. But I don't know if it'll help to, maybe it'll help to like do like a separate thing on this, but I learned that you can use blueprint interfaces to basically just send this from a blueprint to another blueprint that doesn't have the same parent class. So if you can't do get actors of class, you might want to use a blueprint interface. We could probably just go into that in another session. But essentially, it's like a custom event, and you can take in inputs and make it do stuff. So that's triggering the show hide of the media play. So that show hide goes for both the CG, the mesh, and the opacity of the media plate, obviously. So that I was really happy with using that because that's another level of just one less node I had to do. I was doing show hide for this, and then I was doing set opacity after, which is just like, it's just a lot going on, you know. So now I can just do show hide. And this one does want to be hidden. And this one wants to not be hidden. It wants to transform to my location that I've just set. So if I go screen 2 transforms, it's going to be index 6. Wait, is that right? Or is it index? Yeah, index 6. The 7th one in the list will be index 6. And that should do what I want it to do. Let's see. Yeah. Awesome. I did what I wanted it to do first time. Craziness. So now I can do the same for the other side. Just so that screen... Oh, it's screen 3 that's still there. I thought it'd be screen 2. Oh. I mean, we can do it with screen 3. There's just so many options as to what you would want to do with this stuff. Yeah, let's move screen, same screen, but move it around to the other side. I was thinking, do I want to change the input as well? But let's keep it slightly simpler. I'm just gonna have a drink of water. So this is kind of showing you that like I've done this a little bit of kind of well optimized stuff, and as a result it means that I can just set numbers and values, and instead of recreating all the logic and like it's just becoming a little bit simpler to add new aspects. So I'm just going to see if within these 10 minutes I can do it for my final one. So what do I want to do? I want to go, oh yeah, I want to do this one. So I want screen 3 to go over there. So why is it doing it to screen 3? Let's try to fix that anyway. Because screen 2. Wait, which screen? Screen 2 is 0. Definitely got that right. That's really weird that it's showing. So I'm setting screen this one, number 1, which index 1 is back screen 3, I'm setting that to be hidden here, but then, and screen 2 to be not hidden. Unless I've just got my show hide like flipped around, like instead of hidden it could be shown. Let's see if this shows number 2 instead. Yeah. Okay. Have I really got that flipped around, have I? Guess I could just change that variable name to shown, question mark. I guess that fixes it. Is that true for all of my other? That's just broken a lot of stuff, isn't it? So hidden. Well, at least I've got GitHub. Just if this breaks everything, then that's, you know, I can revert. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Any errors? Is this going to totally mess with everything? Surely it is. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Okay. It just must have not been something that's come up before. And this one, screen 2, but it's not gone over there. So we need to fix that transform to make it go over there. Let's see what that's doing. Might be that I had the wrong, the wrong transform number set. So screen 2 transforms, it wants to be number 6. Sorry, I set that already. Oh wait, whoops. I'm in the wrong one. Is number 6? This is number 6. So then screen 2 transform. Screen 2 transforms. The 6. So that is 42 minus 140. I guess this is like something that is quite good to think about. It's like, can you get away with just doing stuff in sequencer because it's a lot quicker, or do you want it to be super dynamic? In which case, you kind of have. It seems like you have to do things a bit more manually, you know. So the transform of this. Yeah, 42. Yeah, that looks about right. 42 minus 140, 270. That should be going over there. And it's definitely not going to be index 7, right? That's just going to say access none, surely. Well, I guess when I press this one, screen 2 is going to the place I want it to go. So let's find out what array element that one is. Okay, yeah, access none. That's good, that's good. So this one is going where I want it to go. Let's try number 4. Maybe didn't even need to set another array element there. Still going over there. Strange. It's just not firing. Looks like it's just not firing. So delta for 2. Two transform number. Interesting. Am I firing the right event here? Bottom right. There's bottom right button. Bottom right. Yeah, that's bottom left, isn't it? Bottom left. Graph. This should be called bottom left relation. So screen to transform is going to move this from point A to point B. It's going to show the screen. Interesting. So that was doing that. That was doing that. That one's cool. That one's cool. That one. And that one just goes to the opposite. To the opposite of where I want it to go. Other than that, it's looking so good. Why opposite? That's what I don't get. Like, it's definitely going to a location. It's got a location that it really wants to go to. It's not the place we want it to go to. Well, I'll work it out. And next week, I'm going to try to get inputs sorted for next week. Inputs and maybe outputs. So, thanks for tuning in, those of you that tuned in. And yeah, please do stay tuned for more updates in this virtual production shared project. If you didn't know, this is going to be available for download, and you'll be more than welcome to use this for whatever you want to use it for. It's going to get more and more robust, hopefully, over time, and it can hopefully just be something that you can deploy and just get going with your virtual production kind of setups a lot quicker and easier. Thanks, Jen. And yeah, join this journey. Basically, I'm figuring it out as I go, and hopefully we can teach you all some cool stuff along the way. Yeah, cheers for tuning in, and catch